one of the IT gurus on the Danish IT sky at that time, he was saying, well, yeah, it could be a good idea, but you shouldn't expect it to solve all your problems. And boy, was he right. Outsourcing in what respect?
Well, in any respect, actually, because the customer, by not doing the project internally, is outsourcing, for instance, to us, but we can
Hmm.
also outsource to a third business
Yeah,
some parts of the project. And what I want to talk about there is, for every time we outsource one step, the project creation gets further away from the business idea of the project. And then you move more and more into a communication challenge. And I want to make the point that Dataflex also removes a lot of that communication challenge, because you have so less developers in one code base. In many other languages, you have more developers, and you have a team leader, and you have like one
yeah.
department for the database, one department for the um, so you have a it's more a question of communication issues than outsourcing in that sense. But um, I I want to try to find when it's a good idea to make outsourcing and when it's not a good idea to do outsourcing.
Some years ago, I got a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
We had a business associate who was setting up a company in northern India.
Mm.
Uh, they were doing Dataflex code, and we were having a Dataflex project. So it was like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Wow, we're going to outsource to India. I was participating in some meetings in the IT sort of business association at the time, and I was telling the other guys there, about this outsourcing venture that we went into. And one of the guys, one of the IT gurus on the Danish IT sky at that time, he was saying, well, yeah, it could be a good idea, but you shouldn't expect it to solve all your problems. And boy, was he right.
Okay. But just to get the setting, you had a customer with a project that you were supposed
Yes.
to do, and
Yeah.
you uh, took some resources from India to aid with the project development. Okay.
Yes. How difficult can that be?
Can't imagine. Let's hear.
Um, the, well, the problem is that if you're doing that kind of outsourcing, your program management overhead goes skyrocket because you really have to follow them all the time. That is for various reasons. One of the reasons is that in countries like India, there's no tradition of using IT in businesses, so they don't really know what it's about. Um, Secondly, I've been working in this business for quite a lot of years, and I know programmers.
Yeah.
And one of the problems with programmers is that if you're not monitoring them, they'll find something else to do than your project. And if the programmers are somewhere in India and you are in Copenhagen, boy, it's difficult. Then you've got the time difference. It means
Yeah.
you don't have a whole working day together. Secondly, you said about something about communication channels, I think.
Yeah.
We were using Skype, and the peculiar thing was that every time, I went hard on them. Have you done this? Then the internet connection at their part, just went away, and communication was abruptly cut off, and it happened all the time. and,
Okay.
and it was an ultra frustrating experience, and it didn't went well, to say the least. Another thing here is that when we're doing agile projects, which is essentially what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to be with the customer. You have to have a very close cooperation with the customer. And I think that I should have known that. I should have thought about that. But then again, now I got this experience is that you can't outsource it. It's not every kind of project that is convenient for outsourcing. Maybe technical projects, where you have a very, very strict specification, you can do it. But with the kind of project that we are doing, where the customer tends to change his mind several times a day, I mean, you really can't do it that way.
No.
And that's just how it is. The good thing about this is, of course, that I remember when outsourcing was hyped. It's about 20 years ago or so. It was very modern and very hyped to outsource your project.
Yeah.
And some of the doomsday preachers say this will be the end of the Danish IT business or the European IT business because it's going to be taken over by Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Not anytime soon, I can say. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
And now, actually, in this context, what we are seeing is that a lot of the production, I mean, hardware projects in various businesses that had been outsourced to various countries like India or China, whatever, it's actually being insourced again.
Yeah.
Which is a new tendency. And as I said, you have, for instance, salary or invoice paying. Yes, paying invoices. That's something that the big companies likes to outsource to Poland or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
And there's an extra benefit of that because it makes it possible for them to pay before 3 months after they actually got the invoice. So they get a fantastic credit there, and they're just saying, "Oh, that's because it's being done in Poland." I wonder to what extent they actually thought that into the project here. But you can do something like that, big runs, like salary for 1,000 co-workers or something like that. You could outsource that. But agile projects, no, it's not a good idea. So we're still outsourcing. But then that would be someone actually more or less sitting in the office, someone that we know for a long time, somebody we can work with, and then we can make it work.
Where we already have a track record, made some projects together, started working, had a conversation, built this relationship with.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes it a lot easier as well.
Yeah. Then again, for the companies, we have a couple of companies that have outsourced everything, all the IT to us because they're too small to have their own IT sort of resources. And unless the manager or the company owner actually knows something about IT, what are they to do? A lot of companies does that. Then there are the companies who are outsourcing because they have an IT department and they don't want anything to do with it. That's funny.
Yeah.
We've had quite successes in that respect also.
Isn't most of our customers that way? They have an IT department that doesn't do what they're supposed to, and then they call us to get things done.
The big ones anyway, yes, I think so.
Yeah.
The big customers there, they don't have time to wait for their own IT departments when they want something done.
No, they're busy with other stuff, so they don't have time to do development of external systems and stuff like that. Yeah.
But we do call our method agile program, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, I think that. Yes, but did we come to any conclusions? When do you want to outsource, and when do you want to keep the project in house?
When you look at it, superficially, it seems that Indian programmers are a lot cheaper than like Danish programmers.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, I'm not really so sure. And there's also another thing. but this is particular for that kind of outsourcing, is that if you ask for something silly,
Yeah.
which happens, then an Indian programmer will do it. A Danish programmer will approach you and say, this is silly. You really want this? And already in that kind of situation, you've saved a lot of money
Yeah.
not outsourcing.
Yeah. 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 I've actually been thinking about the possibility to outsource, um, and looking at the projects we do and see if there is some part of the project that would be possible to outsource if we could write this specification for something. But oftentimes I feel that writing the specification clearly enough would take just as long time as to write the code itself.
You shouldn't forget that the reason for outsourcing would be that you don't have the resources to do the project yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you do have the resources yourself, you would definitely want to do it yourself for a lot of practical, for a lot of reasons. So only those situations, I mean, you might even consider hire more people if it's a big project before considering outsourcing.
But doesn't some businesses use outsourcing as this kind of we need more developers because we are in a hiring process, so we're going to hire some more people, but right now we need more resources to develop this program or what have you. So that's why they're outsourcing for a short while.
Yes, but that's also difficult because uh, resources are not just unquantified piece of programming resources. You got to be sure that the person in question actually knows about the things that he's going to do. For instance, do you know about databases? If you don't know about databases, you're probably not very good at being involved in the project that we're doing. So what do? Then you hire someone for a interface. Yeah, they're doing the interface. They're doing JavaScript or whatever, but they haven't do anything to do with the back end of the programs. The problem here is that for the kind of project that we are doing, we mostly need full stack programmers. So you can't just outsource it to anyone. You need to know that the person that you get in is qualified. And it
Yeah.
might be a fantastic like JavaScript programmer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're qualified for a database project.
Yeah. Okay. So to conclude, um, we rather hire a full stack developer instead of outsourcing uh, anyway. And most of the things we do, at least, are really tightly coupled to the customer and the project. So bringing someone else in would require a having them kind of set into the project if there's not like a small portion of the project that we could outsource that could be specified clearly. But on the other hand, that making that specification would take just as long as writing the code for it.
Yeah,
The only thing I feel would benefit in some cases, but then again, that's if the customer are willing to pay for it. It's getting a external designer in on the project who could make make the appearance of some of the projects look better or more clean.
I agree. Design,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Visual design, that's not our Spitzenkompetenz,
No.
it's called in English.
But on the
No,
other hand, the design is good enough to get the message across and to work with the applications, and the customers usually don't even think about having a more neatly designed system. Sometimes they get happy when they get a better design when we upgrade or do some improvements in design, but it's not something they are really really care about. in that sense.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we happy with that?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're happy with that.
Yeah, okay. If you have any comments in the regards to outsourcing or have some experience, please write down in the comments below and have a nice discussion. And see you next week. Bye bye.
See you next week. Bye bye.